Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Delaney.
I'm Chip.
And we decided to start a collaborative YouTube channel called Sugar and Spice Makeup. We just wanted to give you a range of skin tones and also just makeup techniques and everything in between.
Yeah, and show you guys like what we love, what we want to pass on, and some cool little videos meshed in.
Yeah, so today we're going to be doing a review on the new Morphe Fluidity Full Coverage Foundation. I got the shade in F1.30. It's for fairer skin with pink undertones because I am pink as fuck all the time. I have the concealer and the foundation, and what do you have, Chip?
So I have also the foundation. I am in F5.40 for neutral tones. Amazing. Then the concealer in shade something. Or rather, shades will come at the bottom of the screen. and the pressed powder in #filter13.
Yeah. So we're going to start with just a full face, how we would normally do our makeup routine, and then we'll be also filming today a 2-in-1 look, so we will finish that.
Yeah, so we'll do, like Denise said, we'll do our application, and then at the end we'll show you like price points and all of what they claim this amazing product to be online. So yeah, let's start.
So when I start my face makeup routine, I normally do the Glam Glow Volcasmic Matte Glow Moisturizer. It's just a really nice primer alternative for me because I have dry skin, but I also have oily skin. So I just try to apply that all over the face.
Oh, God, I love this stuff. So I'm using the Dior Hydrolife for moisturizing my face right after I wash it. I love this stuff. The smell is amazing. And a little expensive, so I'm like, I need to use it.
And then for me, I like to cover up my redness in some spot concerned areas with a color corrector dry lotion from OPHTHA. It's a drying lotion, so it's kind of just like what is that pink stuff that you put poison ivy on? Or you put
chamomile?
Yes, chamomile lotion. It's just like that. So it comes in a little dropper, and I just apply it to my problem areas of my face, and then I kind of just tap over it with my finger.
So after I moisturize, I'm going to go in with the Too Faced Hangover RX Primer. I actually like this stuff, and it's also very hydrating for a primer, so hydration on hydration.
Excited for the new Too Faced skincare line that's coming out?
Yes and no. Because I'm like, I don't know, skincare for me, I have to be really dedicated to, one, purchase it because the price point, but also to use it. Like, I buy it because it's like this new thing that's out, and then I use it once and I stop using it, which doesn't make sense. Like, I should be very routine with my skincare. Alright, so how you doing it?
I keep my foundation pre-mixed from what I was using prior, but I just use the lid to kind of blend everything together. I do mix a little bit of my, it's a Bare Minerals Natural Matte, the Urban Decay All-Nighter Foundation, and a little bit of the Beauty Blender Bounce, all mixed in together. But for the most part, I'm using the Fluidity foundation, but this is just to kind of make the application a little bit smoother.
I'm going in one more primer step with a Smashbox Photo Finish. Early for me. Smooth and Blur. So I feel like the foundation with this primer specifically just glides on so nice. So I'm gonna do that where my pores are the biggest.
I'm gonna go ahead and start applying my foundation. I start with my under eyes, all around the eye area, and then just kind of cradle this whole face and just get it all nice in the same color. So that may take me a...
So do you like using a brush or a sponge with this foundation?
I like to use a sponge. I was so much a brush user for the longest time, and then I was like, well, I need to start stepping out of my comfort zone and actually doing something different. And so I started using the Morphe Beauty Blender sponge, whatever you want to call it. One of their more original ones that was pink. Mine's kind of tan, but that's the color it is now, and I haven't gone back.
So I have like a little glass tray that I like to put like any type of concealer, foundation, pomade on, and I'm actually going to use the Morphe M439. This is like their buffing foundation brush. When we went shopping, I saw this and I was like, I kind of just want to have it. people rave about this brush, and I'm just like, what's the big deal?
It's a staple. It's a very nice brush for like the compression, and it doesn't leave you with a whole lot of streaks, which is all you can really ask for from a brush.
Yeah. So when I started using this brush, I'm like, I understand what the hype is now. I'm just going in. I'm just patting it right now, and then I will go and buff it out in just a few moments.
This is such a change for me to like do makeup in a tiny little window of a mirror. I'm used to my like vanity setup, but I don't mind it. The lighting is a little bit more natural. I'm used to like those bright, you know, LED bulbs.
Yeah. So
it's a great look to try with this foundation, just because I'm not used to putting on it in natural light, and I sit under like business lights, business lights, yeah, because I can't think about the actual name for them. No, not that. The ones that go on the ceiling in the bars.
Oh.
Those. The bar business lights.
The bar lights.
That's very descriptive. We'll put a name in there for you. My cap here.
I love this brush. I love this brush. I can't say anything else.
What would be your number 2 brush that you would go to if you had to pick one gun to your head?
I don't know, because I'm such a sponge foundation person. Like, any foundation, I'm always like, use a sponge. And I'm using the Real Techniques complexion sponge, which I love because the price point is much cheaper, but I also love Beauty Blender at the same time.
We're on cheek number 2 out of 2, so we're getting there. Just kind of stippling and dragging on my neck because I'm a piece of shit and I don't like to actually care about what my neck looks like, and this foundation is so light that you can't even tell a line, which is nice because I was using shades like 2 shades darker than what I should have been with my mix that I have. So it's a really big difference, and it does kind of dry down a little bit darker than what initially it looks like.
Yeah,
it kind of looks like paint thinner for my shade anyways, before I kind of let it sit there for a second and meld into my skin.
Yeah. I feel like my initial application, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I look so red. But once you let the foundation sit, it just melts really nicely with your natural skin tone. So that's always my issue when I'm foundation shopping. I'm like, I don't want to look red. Okay.
But what if you're ready, though? Yeah. So you can already tell, like, in the side that you can see, that my forehead looks really shit, and the rest of my face looks very much the same tone, which is all I can ask for a makeup foundation. I want to have the same base, so when I'm getting up to, you know, contouring and blush and any bronzer I'm putting in, it's all gonna melt and shade very nicely together.
Okay, so I try to avoid putting foundation under my eyes because I'm gonna go ahead and put concealer there, and I just don't like a lot of product under my eyes in general. So I feel like
gonna go ahead and move on to concealer.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, just always been that person like, I'm gonna cover every pore of my face with the foundation, and then I'm just gonna cover it with some more concealer. But I'm pretty light on my concealer, to be honest. I don't really have a preference on like how full coverage my concealer is, because I'm already color correcting and covering up all my blemishes and things of that nature with my foundation coverage. That's why I prefer full coverage all the time. Don't give me an SPF face tint. I don't want that.
I just like to let my foundation sit a little bit. That's all I'm doing, just letting it sit. But yeah, but it dries really quickly, which is what I really like about this foundation. And I don't have to move like too quickly. What was it? I think the Fenty foundation. No, the Becca.
Oh, I haven't tried that one.
The Becca like complete complex matte foundation. Yeah, like I love it. That was my like #1 foundation last year. Like I use it all the time, but you have to work so quickly. 1 dot. If you leave that dot on there.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the Fenty. Like I love a matte coverage, and like that one's the most matte on the market in my opinion, but it just dried too quickly for me, and it was harder for me to work with. So I like to do bigger areas of my face. Like I like to get one whole cheek done in one swipe. Yeah. But then if I have too much product on myself, I have to either put it on my hand or put it on my other side, and I don't want to waste my product. So, you know, I like to get every last drop.
Right. It was so much. Okay, so for the concealer, I found the number. It's going to be C4.65. So that is the shade that I'm in, which was actually a mistake. I didn't realize it till I got home and I tried it, but this is not light enough for my true like under eye highlight type of concealer, but
So are you gonna replace
like,
it, or are you gonna try to make that work?
I mean, I'm gonna use this up, so I'm gonna make it work, but because I don't know, I'm like, I don't want to go all the way back there just for a concealer.
I feel you. But you know, Ulta has it now.
Oh, great.
Well, I mean, I know our location does. Technical issues. So, like I was saying, I am going in with my concealer now, which is the same color as my foundation, the 1.30 for pink and neutral undertones, because pink everywhere, and I'm trying to do a whole lot of coverage with my concealer. I'm just trying to lighten up some areas that I like to have as the focal points of my face, which would be under eye, because I have a lot of wrinkles and fine lines, and the chin, because I am fat, and the forehead, because there's so much there.
Oh my gosh. So in the beginning, I loved highlighting like all over my face. Like I
wanted the streaks on every side. Oh my gosh.
And now I just feel like I just don't need that much highlight. So I highlight under my eyes. Mm-hmm. And if I'm feeling it, my forehead. But if not, I'm just like, whatever.
And to apply my concealer, I'm using the Blotterazzi from Beauty Blender. I just like having a more flat applicator to curve into my face. You're actually supposed to use it to blot your makeup and take oils out, but that's not what I use it for.
Okay, so my thoughts on this concealer, just applying, I'm not a fan. Like, I just feel like it's tries to move my foundation if I'm too rough, which I don't know if that's a me or the concealer thing, but it's not enough coverage for me. So we're just going to go in with another application.
Actually, I'm kind of still on the fence about the concealer, in my opinion. When I first got it, I was like, ooh, this is really light for even that same shade. I feel when I'm putting it on my Blotterazzi that it pills up the foundation underneath, even though it's the same product. So I have kind of been using it on and off. I had just recently got a new concealer that I wanted to try in my Ipsy. It's the Kokie Professional Be Bright in the shade Light. And it's more of a neutral tone to me. It matches my skin more than brings a highlight, even though it's an illuminator. But it's still pretty nice, but I'm trying to give a Morphe another try.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not completely sold on this concealer, but I mean, it's nice that they did a whole line of foundation, concealer, and pressing powder. It's not just like one release. Mm-hmm. So
I'm going to go ahead and move on to contour my face because I look like a ghosty bitch now and I have to like cut out those cheekbones.
Lady, where'd you go?
I'm here! I mean, there's a pumpkin here, but there's a ghost head, so I'm very Halloween in the middle of February.
Hey, Halloween's the
so
best.
for my contours, I use the Fenty Matchsticks in the shade Amber for my contour, and then Linen to kind of clean up any edges or cover any further blemishes or any spots I'm seeing on my face that aren't quite fully there. So I'm just going to go ahead and carve that out.
I'm using the Real Techniques complexion sponge. I always forget what this is. I'm going in with my just all-time favorite. Has never failed me. This is a Laura Mercier setting powder, and this is in the shade Deep, Medium Deep. I'm really glad that they came out with like a darker shade, but yeah.
Aren't you always happy when they come out with a darker shade?
Yes. This has been just an amazing setting powder for everything on my face.
That's very true. I do also like using the Laura Mercier, and that's what I'll be using today once I get done with all my cream and wet products. I use the translucent just because I'm ghosty white. If I use deep, it's just going to take away all of the concealer that I just put down. So I'm just going back in with my Blotterazzi to kind of buff out all of the contour that I put in, and then I'm going to go clean it up with Linen with a concealer brush.
And then I'm just going to take a fluffy brush. This is also I feel like this is a Real Techniques brush. This came out right before my wedding, which was like in April, so this must have been like, I don't know, March release. Love it. Why? Because it's pink and it's sparkly. That's why I got it. That's the only reason I got it. But using it, so soft. Bristles are amazingly soft. Picks up product really nicely and it blends it out really nice. So I just use this for my whole face or just removing powder. Like, it's just my go-to brush right now.
So for the concealer, it was a Morphe M333. It's just a flat brush that has a edge that just kind of combines perfectly with the slant of my face, and I have used that for foundation and concealer application for literally 3 years now.
Going back in with that same Real Techniques brush, and now I'm using the Morphe setting powder in filter 13. And I really like this powder. Did I say setting powder? You know what I meant. Face powder. I really like this powder though. Like, it blends in really nice with my skin. It really helps my foundation just stick in place. And it doesn't add color. Like, it's not adding another red tone on top. Like, it's just the perfect match. Which I find it really hard to find a good powder for my face.
Isn't it great when brands release complimentary products for the whole line instead of just, hey, here's a whole line of foundation. Don't know what concealer you're going to use.
Yeah. Like, that's why I find it really hard shopping for drugstore makeup. One, you can't swatch it. You shouldn't swatch it because it's all, you know, wrapped up and everything. But I'm just like, I think it looks like my skin tone. And I get home and I'm like, nope. Nope, nope.
Yeah, but then you see all the people that were trifling and they already opened all the products anyways. And there's lipstick smears like, all over the part where you're supposed to see the price.
Yep.
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with drugstore makeup. I do watch a lot of like Wet n Wild releases, and they are getting really good. And CoverGirl is really stepping out of their box too. Yeah. They're not doing a bunch of neutral smoky eye releases anymore. They're doing, you know, bright bolds, which is great.
Which is nice. Which is really nice.
So I'm just going in with my Laura Mercier translucent setting powder, just applying it to the under eye, the chin, everywhere that I put basically concealer. I'm putting it on there, and any trouble areas for oil. So it's going to go around my nose as well.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my brows, and I would usually use my NARS concealer to like shape out my brows, but today, because this is our little Morphe review, I will use the Morphe concealer, so let's see how that does for shaping brows. But yeah, I'm going to be a little quiet so I can like get brows that look the same. You want sisters, not distant cousins.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm not done with my face makeup, so I'm going to keep working on that. I'm going to start going in with my contour powder now. I use the Lunatic Cosmetics Labs Contour Volume 1 kit. It's really great for not only special effects makeup, but if you're just wanting everyday use. It has a shade of neutral grace, which is really great if you're trying to be spooky and you're a ghost like me, or if you don't want a brown color within your face scheme. Then they have an assortment of blushes, which go from light to deep, I would say, because honestly I don't ever use the deepest blush, but sometimes I do just to kind of rosy up the cheeks, or even use as a contour instead. And then they have a shade of browns and a nice cream color on top if I need to correct or fix any type of like overage or bronzer or contour that I may have messed up.
Yeah.
And for applying that, I'm using the Morphe M436, which is a feather brush. It has nice little, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't.
Bristles?
It has bristles, but taper. So it's more compressed at the bottom of the brush, but it's really fluffy and light on the top. So it just makes it a nice blend on the contour shades that I'm going to be.
So, little secret about Chip. I never do my brows last. I'm always like, brows first. Why? So I can see the outline of my brows. So I'm like, I hope this is where my natural brow line is.
Oh my gosh.
We shall see. Please be even.
So since my Morphe foundation is pretty light on me in comparison to what I'm normally using, I'm kind of just barely dipping into the two lightest brown shades here. Just very light on this one. Just kind of doing a little quick dab in there. And then to deepen up some of the cheek, I'm going to just go in with the medium gray here just to kind of give it a little bit of cut. And as you can see, it's already making a difference and popping them cheekbones. So what did you use for your brows?
So my brow powder, yes. I always use this Makeup Forever Aqua Brow in the shade 30. Like, it'll be a very rare day that I grab for anything different. I found it, I fell in love with it, and I've never left it.
Okay, back. So now I'm going to go in with Hourglass for my blush. This is the Ambient Lighting Brush in Mood Exposure. I really like a marbled blush. It just kind of gives it another vibe that I really like to look for. It's more of a sporadic marble in this particular pan, so I'm not focusing on something more darker or the lighter color. I'm just kind of swirling it all in. I always give it a quick blow just to kind of get off the excess. And I'm just going to focus on the apples of the cheeks.
So for my brows, I use the Morphe M413. Actually, like, I'm not meaning to, like, use all Morphe products, but it's just, like, I'm realizing I use a lot of Morphe products day to day. So yeah, so this is their M413, their angled and spoolie brush. I really like it. Their angled brush is dense, which is good, but also rough. So don't expect something super soft, but I actually like that it's a rougher texture brush than like a soft brush head, because I feel like it picks up the product and it really spreads it out. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
feel like it would
like,
give you a more natural look because the stray fibers of the brush are going to flick out the product versus if you have a really soft, like, angled brush. It's just going to make whatever line that you want. It's a very fine line.
Yeah, definitely. This is a nice... Got them brows.
And the brush I use to apply my blush is actually not a Morphe brush. It's from Bare Minerals. I've had this fan brush for 6 years. She's a trooper. She's hung in there. It's the Light Stroke fan, and it doesn't have a particular number, but I don't think that they sell this anymore, so that's why. But you could use any fan brush or whatever, you know, taper brush that you like to use for blush. I just like to use a fan brush because it's a little bit thicker for that particular one.
Okay, so I'm going in for my brows. So now I want to shape them out, make them nice and sharp. I'm using the concealer. This is the F75 from Sigma. And I will also be using the Morphe concealer. So I put some on my little glass tray here. And we're just going to start shaping under the brow and then over. And that's...
The lady's going to get brows now. So I like to use the Brow Gal, the Instant Brown Tint Hair 02. It's a tinted brow gel that has fibers in it, so it's kind of like a fiber mascara if you've ever used one of those. It just kind of helps bring more volume to my brows because my natural brows are really sad, but they're there. I just kind of have to, like, make them darker. So I just bring them through the whole brow, and then I'm going to go in with my Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Taupe to just kind of do the line and angle out my brows a little.
Okay, I'm not hating the concealer under my brows.
Do you think it's better than under the eyes, per se?
I'm not like 100%, I don't know.
It looks okay. It's bringing a weird orange tint to under your eye, and I don't know if that's how you normally want to do it, but it could just be my orange rating off of you. So as you can see, just the Brow Gal alone really helped to bring my natural brow out. You could just stop with this product, honestly, if you have better brows than me. They're pretty sparse, but I like to have a more clean cut on at least my ends, so that's what I really like to focus the pomade on, and then I kind of just feather out into the center of my face as I go. So for my angled brush of choice, it's the Sephora angled liner in number 22, looks like, for that number. I actually went and specifically sought this brush out because I hadn't been getting anything in my Morphe brush subscription that was an angled brush. They tend to stick to more like face brushes or big powders or, you know, anything that's for the face, but not necessarily like your more specified tools for technique. They come on and off, but for the most part, they're focusing on, you know, big contour brushes and stuff like that.
Is anyone else like in love with face brushes? I am. I have enough, but I don't have enough.
Sephora is one of those companies that, like, even their in-house brand stuff really surprises me sometimes. Like, I never even thought, like, when I would go into Sephora that I would, like, buy a Sephora product. Per se, I'm like, I'm going in to buy a brand that's specifically sold at Sephora.
Yeah.
And then, like, I started falling in love with their lips and their eyeliners. Like, I love their gel liners. They're all beautiful. They give you different shade ranges and stuff like that. And it's very similar in the tones to, like, the Kat Von D liners that she sells. They're, like, muted colors, but they're colors. And it just is a great applicator for, like, a more reserved look. Or if I want to do a color liner, but I don't necessarily need, like, a pop of color.
Okay, I think we have sisters or sister-in-laws.
Sisters-in-law? Yeah, you got it.
I think we got some relatives going on my face here. Okay, so for carving out eyebrows, it worked. It's not as...
Is it how you like it, though?
Precise as I like it, because obviously it's more of a fluid, very liquidy product. I do like concealers that are a little bit more firm. So I don't know, I feel like I have more control. So with this, not as much control, but more of a natural finish. So my brows look more natural than like, you know, that Photoshop, like very sharp
Instagram
line.
look.
Yeah.
So what's your normal go-to product for carving eyebrows then? For
the
comparison.
NARS. Yeah, so so I love this soft matte complete concealer from NARS. Honestly, this is like more of closer to a pomade consistency, so I feel like I have more control using this pot-like product, but the tube for Morphe, again, more liquidy, less control, but you get a more natural finish with your brow. So I think it's preference. I do the Insta Look brow every day, so I really wouldn't gravitate towards this for a look, because I don't really do that kind of brow.
Okay, so I'm done cutting out my brows, so it's cool that we ended at the same time, but I felt like you needed a lot of concentration. So for me, some of my eyebrow hairs in particular like to do their own thing, and I'm like, no, you're going to be in a stamp shape. So I go in with a little bit of a waterproof coverage mascara for covering up those brows and kind of just keeping them in place. And then I just kind of press them as the product tries to dry. This is Bare Minerals. Again, it's a waterproof coverage mascara top coat. So if you have a mascara that you like but you want it to be waterproof, this is something that you could use it for. Or I like to use it as a clear brow gel in a sense.
And talking about brow gel, so I use the ABH, and this is just their clear brow gel in the shade clear.
Oh my gosh, in the shade not there.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a spoolie applicator, and honestly, it does amazing at keeping my brows in shape, dries down so fast. And I like that it's clear, so it's not adding more color. It's just kind of setting your brows.
So I'm noticing already, just from looking at a natural light versus an LED or like more halogen light bulb, that I'm seeing a little bit of creasing around the mouth, which I normally am not seeing at this point. That's normally what I'm seeing from this foundation like 5 or 6 hours in, and then by 8 to 10, it's like dying on me. Like all my oils are coming out, which is not a reflection of the product whatsoever. It's just my face being like, I don't want to be under here anymore. Please let me out. You should be at home now. You shouldn't be at work anymore. I could probably use a different primer to offset that, like the Farsali Unicorn Essence. That's a really good primer to hold my makeup in place. Or I could have set it with a powder, like my Laura Mercier. I do normally put a collagen-based moisturizer around my fine lines, so underneath the eye, around the mouth, in the forehead, because I'm going to get those no matter what I do. So that could also offset that, just because it's going to fill up any of those fine lines. But other than that, like, the foundation is looking like it normally does from what my application has been like. What do you think so far?
So using the foundation, after a couple of hours, it does let oils through. But it's weird. My oils come through, but my foundation doesn't move. So I don't know if that's just the primers that I use. But the oils aren't as bad as some foundations. So I can still go about my day and be like, whatever, I'll blot here and there.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Concealer will crease on me very quickly than I'm used to. I usually gravitate towards the Tarte Shape Tape, which I know won't crease and won't let oils through. But this foundation will eventually let my oils through. I don't know. I'm not in love with the coverage. I'm not in love with the application, and it does crease. So for concealer, I probably wouldn't get it again, but foundation, I would. I do like the color. Over time, some foundations like to oxidize and turn really red-orange on me. This one doesn't. So once this kind of like melts in with my skin, it'll stay the same tone throughout the whole day, which...
That's all you can really ask for?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I obviously don't really know what that's like, because I'm the fairest of the fair, but, you know, that's why it's good that, you know, we have a different perspective by doing a collab, and that's why we want to do this, so.
Yeah. The foundation, the powder, though, this is amazing. I love this face powder. One, of course, the color, it matches. So some days I will just use this. and not the foundation. If I just want a very even tone on my face but not a lot of product, so this works great. It works great with the foundation. It works great with my brushes of choice, buffing, or just even like a very fluffy brush. It works. Now it also comes with this little pad applicator. I really don't use these, so I'll probably just keep it in here just because it goes with
it. Yeah. If you're taking it with you one day.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the size. So yeah, powder is also a plus for me. So we're going to go over a few things that Morphe is stating about the products. We'll do some prices and then like our final like buy or pass thoughts. So just looking on Morphe online, so they're saying that this is a foundation, throw some major shades, up to 60, which, yeah, when we went in store, just the range, I was like,
it was beautiful.
Yes, about time.
Of course, I was like, okay, where's fair? What undertone do I need? And that's it. But they have so many medium tones, which I think is beautiful. Yeah. A lot of products from companies, they're going to stick to their lightest shade, their deep as they're going to go, and then all the shades in between kind of look like trash.
Yeah, but this was, like, amazing. And just for darker skin tones, because they had it separated, so the lighter skin tones were on one side, darker on the other. We're used to, like, what, 5 or 6 shades? Yeah. But this Fluidity line, I mean, it was vast. I had some trouble just finding my shade only because I had so many options, which is a great problem to have. So it says that these are all soft matte coverage. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't feel as drying or as like matte as the Fenty, which is fine because I don't really prefer the Pro Filter, even though it's a great product. It's just not necessarily for me, and I had more trouble with my oils coming out with that product than I've had with this, which is great.
Yeah. So some benefits. So it says 24-hour long wear, sweat-proof, transfer-resistant, water-resistant, free from oils, fragrances, and parabens, great for all skin types. I would agree with that. Sweat-proof, I haven't been in a situation where I'm sweating yet with this foundation, so
turn the air off. We'll find out.
Yeah, and so when you go online, they have different shade names and they have them categorized. So you have level 1, which is light, level 2, which is medium, level 3, which is tan, level 4, which is rich, level 5, which is deep. So.
And you were in 4, right? So
I was in 4 for rich. So let's see.
And I was in level 1 because obviously that's where I
actually
live. Everywhere I go. But I like that in this particular release that they focus a lot on undertones. I think that a lot of brands moving forward are going to be doing that. Fenty was a great comparison just because they started focusing on the undertones of skin versus before I wasn't really seeing it in the marketplace for any brand where they were focusing on the undertones of your skin, which so many tones can be different versus just a foundation. Like, yeah, I'm light, but like what is under there?
Yeah. I agree. So for your amounts, you get 1 fluid ounce. What is the price on these?
Oh, that'd be great to know.
Oh, let's see. Okay, so it's $18 for the foundation, and you get 1 fluid ounce in here, which I think is pretty darn good pricing for a foundation.
Yeah, that's just a little more elevated than a drugstore line. So, I mean, what Beauty Bounce is $38 for a fluid ounce, and don't get me wrong, I love the packaging of the Beauty Bounce for the sponge, but once you kind of start getting down there, I don't know if anyone's opened that product, but it's a tube, which is not like a moving up pump like the Urban Decay All-Nighter, which pushes your product up towards the end, so you definitely get all of it. The Beauty Bounce, I found standing the container upright, I couldn't get any product out after a certain point, so I had to like lay it down, and then eventually I just ended up ripping off the entire outside of the bottle so I could scrape out the product, which took forever. But the applicator,
you had to do what you had to do.
Yeah. Great idea, but I could use some tweaking on getting that product out instead of making me use half a fluid ounce and then I have to buy more.
Yeah. So then moving on to the concealer. So the packaging stays the same with the concealer. So the concealer is $9. And this says it's a 16-hour wear. Still sweat-proof, transfer-resistant, water-resistant, free of fragrance, and parabens. But it doesn't say free of oils.
So it's kind of moisturizing, but still matte, which I think is good.
Yeah, and it still has your different levels. So also your concealer line, wide variety of shades as well. Like I said, I would probably, if I were to purchase this again, go a shade lighter because the shade that I thought would be as a highlight is too deep for me. And you get 0.15 fluid ounces for $9. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for a foundation, concealer, a setting powder, the price point for Morphe, really good, very affordable.
Yeah, which just stays on brand with their brand.
Yeah, yeah. And then lastly, their Filter Effect Finishing Powder. This is $12. And description, there are 15 shades of the setting powder. Yeah, you'll find your shade. I had no problem. And they're all like a hashtag and then the number. So again, I had 13 and you get 0.31 ounce of product. So again, I would say these would be my favorite products out of the line. Sorry, concealer.
I didn't mind the concealer too much. I'll probably use it if I need to lighten up something, if I really want to carve out a look, maybe for like Halloween or a seasonal look or, you know, something avant-garde that I may be doing. But I 100% love the foundation. I think it was a great buy. Yeah. I'll definitely probably pick up another one once I run out of this one. But I like that it's in a tube and I can actually push all their products.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that is our little Morphe Fluidity foundation line review, our thoughts, and our application.
Probably do like a little check-in photo or a couple around later. A few hours of wear.
So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and please don't forget to subscribe and like our channel.
And hit that bell so
yes.
every time we do upload, which we're planning to do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, that way you will get notified as soon as we do that, because I've heard rumors that YouTube is not telling you as much as possible that people are uploading. So hit that bell, hit the subscribe, and stay with us so we can bring you more great videos. Yeah. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, so it is 9:30 at night and I am still wearing the Morphe Fluidity foundation and concealer and setting powder, their face powder. So far so good. I mean, I think I am done for the day. I'm going to take it off. But it has sat pretty well throughout the evening, and I did some woodwork stuff tonight. Wasn't really sweating, but the foundation didn't really budge. I'm still not like a fan of the concealer. I feel like it's just not enough full coverage. I can still see like a lot of my fine lines. But other than that, this foundation really sat really nicely throughout the day. So yeah, so that is my about 10-hour check-in. I don't think I'd ever wear this for 24 hours, but for 10 hours, it is looking.
Hey guys, I'm just doing a check-in for our Morphe Fluid Full Coverage Matte Foundation review. It's been about 8 hours since application, and I'm just going to kind of zoom you in a little bit to show how the makeup is holding up. Again, remember I set my oil areas with powder, and we're just going to kind of see how the makeup is breaking up around those. So just kind of bringing you in right here around the nose. You can see there's a little bit of breakage right around my crease, as well on the other side, and then just underneath my nostrils here. That's pretty much where most of my oil is coming from on the daily, so I try to just kind of blot as I go. Forehead is kind of glossy, but it's not super wet. I have kind of been self-consciously blotting throughout the day, but nothing really crazy. Now, if I go like this, I'm definitely rubbing off the product, as you may be able to see here. I may put a filter on this just so you can kind of see, but the finger is looking like that, so you tell me. But again, that was a pretty hard swipe. I'm going to go ahead and take off my makeup now, but it's still really a great product. I am glad that I picked it up. So if you have any questions or comments or anything of that nature, put it down in the comments so we can have a discussion. Thanks for watching. Bye!